Well, just excited. Our team is healthy. We got through our first game in the tournament with obviously a very good win over a very, very good, well-coached Tulsa team, and we're pretty healthy through that. So just trying to get prepared for the next difficult task, and that being Stephen F. Austin. So we're excited to be here and be in preparation for that.
Myron Metcalf, ESPN.com. Coach, what differences are there, especially in terms of resources, between what you had in New Mexico and what you have access to at UCLA?
Well, every place has different brands. Obviously, I mean, it's Los Angeles, so there's a lot of different. And I never like comparing. Every one of my stops that I've had, I've been blessed and very fortunate. Now that I've been in it 23 years, people like to forget I was started at Division III, and I always hate when they omit that, because my time at Manchester College was the best, and it was very special. I had great teams. We were able to start a program, basically start a program. It had 5 winning seasons in 100 years, and we were able to go to the championship game against Bo Ryan's team. So that was a very special place, and you're not looking at a very big budget there, and yet we were able to change a culture. And then going right from Missouri State to Iowa to New Mexico, those are all very special junctures in my life where I learned a lot about coaching at every stop, and I hope that I was able to help the culture in all those stops at some point, and trying to do the same thing at UCLA. But the brand and who UCLA is about, it's obviously a very special brand. There's not another place in the country that hangs 11 national champion banners. There's not another place in the country that, has an icon legend like John Wooden that's done that much for the game of basketball on and off the court, and a bar that's raised like that. We had our 100th practice yesterday, and we've had NBA scouts at 88 of the 100 practices this year. I don't know of another school in the country, that's had that. It's a very powerful brand, and we want to use that the best we can in the culture that we're establishing there as a new coaching staff of, a brand that is an exciting style of play, but it's also a championship style of play, because I think that's where the bar has been put at UCLA years ago.
John Gold, Arizona Daily Star. Coach, can you talk about the difficulties in preparing for an opponent that you might not have seen much of during the year with a day's notice, and the process of it as
right,
well?
even so much of not seeing them a lot. What's difficult about it is, one, I know they're very well coached, and two, they haven't lost since Thanksgiving. So this, actually, their last loss was my birthday by Coach Murray Bartow, who's a good friend of mine at East Tennessee State. So that's a long time. So the scary part is, on one-day prep, you're preparing for somebody that they don't know anything but winning. And that's a great credit to their coaching staff, to their players. You've got a culture in that locker room that hasn't experienced any kind of loss, until late November. So that's a very difficult team to prepare for, regardless of what you're going to try to do offensively and defensively. I think this is a really tough group. It looks like it's a fun team to coach, very similar to what I have in my locker room. But it's a team that's got some seniors to it. 3 of the 8-9-man rotation are going to be seniors. Another one's a junior. So they're experienced. I think there's a culture of winning there, and now they've just kind of taken it to the next level this year. So it's a very dangerous team. And then I think they execute things so well, both offensively and defensively. They make you guard. They don't beat themselves. They don't turn the ball over a lot. And at the other end, they make it hard for you to run an offense because of the way they defend. So it's a very, very difficult task for us in just one-day prep.
Matt Calkins, UT San Diego. You mentioned how you've learned something at every juncture in your coaching career. What do you think? What did you learn at New Mexico that prepared you for this job, you think?
Well, we played at a very high level to win at the level that we won. We were there 6 years. I think we won 2 tournament championships, 3 league championships. We were over 22 wins in every year. We were in postseason every year. So we'd had bits and pieces of that at Missouri State and Iowa, but the consistency of a 6-year stretch of really being at a high level year in, year out, I hope that's what's prepared me now for UCLA, where, that's what you need to be at UCLA. It's not, you can't be good 1 out of every 4 years. You got to be relevant every year, and that's the culture that we know is established and been established at UCLA, and that's the culture that we want to continue at UCLA.
John Gold, Arizona Daily Star. Kind of building on the first question I had about preparing for this opponent on a quick turnaround. How do you parse through what you retain and what's necessary for you to know about the opponent versus what you let trickle down to the players?
Very good, and that is, coaches have already got a lot in their mind, but as we go to practice here this afternoon and we go through walkthroughs and we talk about our offense, it'll really be about 2, 3, 4 points of each. We're not going to change. Obviously, we're not going to change who we are. We're not going to try to, reinvent anything here as we get to the round of 32. We are who we are. Our identity is who we are, and now we just got to be really good at it. Your identity is one thing, but when you get to this part of the season, it's not about changing your identity. It's being really good at who you are, and we know we're going to have to do that tomorrow afternoon. If we're really good, we'll give ourselves a chance. If we're not good at doing what we do at both ends of the floor, then we'll get beat. It's that simple, and I think most teams, you probably say that about most teams this time of year. March is about being at your best. It's not about creating a new identity. It's being about, you understand who you are, now go do it as well as you can, and that's what we're going to have to do tomorrow.
Jill Painter, LA Daily News. Coaches move on all the time, but when you see that New Mexico loss, do you have any emotions attached to seeing that and having known so many of those players?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm still very tied to them because that's my associate head coach got the job. All of my assistants but one stayed. Dwayne Broussard came with me, so all those assistants were, except what Craig hired, were under me. Strength coach under me, trainer under me, and all those players were ours. So I followed them every game. I've seen every game that didn't mirror our times. I got to watch that game yesterday. I got to see most of that game before I think we had a pregame meal that might have interrupted a little bit of it. But so I talked to Coach Neal just about every day. I talked to a lot of those players. And they had a tremendous year. Tough seed, with everything that they did this year. You look at RPI, you look at the success they had. That was a tough seed to get a first-round draw against a big Stanford team. I thought in our league, obviously Arizona and ourselves had maybe the better seasons in league, but starting fives, that starting five for Stanford's very good. Not a deep team, but that starting five is really good. So I thought it was a tough seed to begin with, but what a terrific year. They win 27 games plus again. They win a championship again. That's those kids that are there, those young men rather that are there. I think Kendall Williams has now been a part, and Cam Bairstow. Those are the seniors. I think they've been a part of almost 6 championships, and you only get 8 in a 4-year career when it comes to league play. So, they've had incredible careers there, all-time winningest Lobos. I mean, they've just had an incredible career. So I'm very, very happy and pleased for them.
Matt Calkins, UT San Diego. 2-part question for you. You've mentioned the brand UCLA. How it's different than the other brand you've coached with. Or did you change your style at all or anything about your coaching when you came to UCLA? And also, did your first tournament game feel different as a UCLA coach versus?
Yeah, each time it feels a little bit different just because of what your team is. I've said it before. I thought, last year's New Mexico team. I hate the word overachieving because I don't believe in that, but we played really well. We wrapped up a league championship a week before the season was even over. We rolled right through the conference tournament. So we were playing at a really high level. But if you look at that team, it was still, the only 2 seniors we had came off the bench. There was no senior in the starting lineup. This was the year we thought would really be the big year. Now, Tony Snell ends up leaving for the NBA draft, and he's had a tremendous rookie season. But even with that, we had an awful lot of that nucleus coming back. So we thought this was going to be the targeted year, and they had another phenomenal season, so it worked out great. this year's team, we didn't know exactly what we had at the beginning of the year at UCLA, but we knew we had a lot of talent. There's a lot of NBA talent on this team. So I don't say it's that I've changed my style as much as it's been we're able to do a little bit more things. It's a little bit more open from the standpoint we're running because we have those type of players that we can get up and down the floor, we can run, we can play at a really high tempo to where, whether it was a New Mexico team or other teams that might not quite be as deep, it might have to be a little bit more ball controlled. And New Mexico, we're a little bit more inside presence. If you look at the Ware twins, those are stretch fours that run like crazy. They're athletic. They can shoot the basketball. Tony Parker is going to end up being a tremendous back-to-back basket player, and he's developing daily. But we'll post guards, which is a little bit different. But the style hadn't changed as much as just opening it up with a high level of athlete.
Abby Mastracco, Fox Sports. You mentioned you took over a D3 program and you were at Missouri State. There's so many coaches that would rather go be on the bench of a high-profile, high-major program instead of going that route. What was it that attracted you to going and taking over some small programs and going that direction?
Well, that's the only option I had. I got released my 5th year in from the Sacramento Kings right at Halloween. And my dad was a high school coach, and I was volunteering for him. And then for about 6 weeks, if you know what volunteer means, it means no pay. And so I went from the NBA to no pay. And then mid-December, President Robinson called me from Manchester College and basically offered me the job. The coach there had quit. They were 0-8, and that coach quit. So you had a team that didn't have a coach mid-season. And I was just volunteering for my dad. And the irony behind that is my dad gave me a whistle, and I don't use a whistle much in practice, and he gave me a book on Pyramid of Success by John Wooden. That was the opportunity I had. There were a lot of guys that I think go the assistant route, and I probably would have went the assistant route. I had no idea that being out of the league for 6 weeks, a collegiate job would open. I always knew I wanted to be a college coach versus a high school coach. I really wanted to be a college coach where I was 24/7 basketball. And so when that opportunity came, it was, even though it was a team that was 0-8, it was too good to be true. And so that's how I got my start. And I couldn't think of a better start. I got to coach just terrific young men at a great institution, and I got to learn about coaching in those 4 years a lot, where you don't have TV shows, you don't have radio shows. I got to learn. I got to, make some mistakes along the way and learn from that. But being able to coach a great group of young men, that was fun.
John Gold, Arizona Daily Star. Maybe no player on this team seems to have improved on a year-to-year basis than Norman Powell. He seems to really have kind of regained a little bit of the confidence. Did you see the kind of play that he's had over the last few weeks and over the course of the season when you got there, or is that something you had to kind of mine out of him?
Yeah, well, Glenn Worley played for me at the University of Iowa, and he's out in San Diego now, and a dear friend of Norman's. He was around Norman a lot when Norman was a high school player at Lincoln. So Glenn was one of the first guys I called when I took the UCLA job because I wanted him to be able to immediately pass on how excited I had the opportunity to coach Norman, because I've always liked Norman. I was able to watch him when I was at New Mexico and follow him because we recruit Southern California at New Mexico, so I was always in gyms and AAU circles where I got to see Norman play a lot. And I just think Norman, if you look at him, he's an extreme athlete. Not only does he play above the rim, but he's strong, he's physical, he gets the basket quick, he's a great driver, he's got big hands, he can really guard, and I just think he's improved in a lot of areas. His not only his minutes gone up, but more than his minutes, all of his production's gone up. He's a double-figure scorer. You talk about Kyle, you talk about Jordan, but and you should, but Norman has been a huge key for our success this year because sometimes people forget about him, and he can hurt you, just like he did last night.
Andrew Erickson, Daily Bruin. Your last year at Manchester College, you had a team that won something like 31 straight. Now you go up against a team that has won 29 straight, hasn't lost since November. From your perspective, what about a team changes in its mentality or just its drive, to consistently win those games?
Well, I know as we were on that streak years ago, that team got better, that team got tougher, and they really felt like, and I can remember we had a couple games very similar to like last night when, VCU had them beat probably 2 or 3 times in the last 5 minutes, and they just found ways to win. And my Manchester team was like that. We had 2 games that I recall where we had no business winning. But those guys on the floor, had nothing to do with coaching, that's for sure. Those guys on the floor, they just knew how to win. They believed in themselves. And so when you have a culture of winning, that's what happens. You don't understand anything else, so you don't accept anything else, regardless of the ebb and flow of a basketball game. You give up a run here, you give up a rebound basket here or whatever. You just don't ever believe you're going to lose the game, so you find out ways of winning. And whether it's making shots, getting a rebound, getting a defensive stop, making a foul shot, free throw block out, whatever it may be, you just find a way to do it. And I think you're seeing that in this Stephen F. Austin team. They find ways to win. And to be able to win, especially the parity, you look at the parity at the Division I level, and to be able to win every game since the 23rd of November, that's an amazing feat in itself. So they got a lot to be proud of, and they definitely got the respect of us going into tomorrow's game.
Matt Calkins, UT San Diego. Coach, the most memorable shot of this tournament to this point happened right before you guys were about to take the floor. Were you able to get caught up in it at all, or was it all business for you?
Yeah, we were actually, I think we were in the coaches anyway, because we're waiting. The players are in the locker room. I think we were actually in an illegal room we weren't supposed to be in. The door was unlocked. So I'm not sure we were supposed to be in there, but they had great snacks, they had drinks, and they had 3 big screen TVs. So it was a nice holding area for us as coaches. So we actually got to watch the end of that, and just a phenomenal ending. Down 4 inside 10 seconds, and again, it's just finding a way to win. It's one thing to shoot that shot, get hit, get fouled, make the shot, then go to the free throw line knowing you have to make the free throw. Those aren't easy plays, and I think that's what's impressive about this team we're about ready to play. They make great plays. They play well together. They're an unselfish group, and they're really a tough-minded group. So it's going to be a tough matchup.
Any other questions for Coach? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.